So, most of you guys might know I might have been like 2 years since I've been coming here, like 2 years and 4 months, and it's actually the first time I've been up in front of everybody. As you all know, I like to be behind the scenes, not really up in front of everybody, and so you know, made a little nervous. You know, I like to talk. Everybody knows that, right? So I like to talk a lot, but just, you know, not always in front of everybody. And actually, even though I like to talk a lot, there's still a lot of people that don't know a lot of things about me. So, you know, besides a little bit of a testimony, it's also a little bit of life story going on. I got some notes here to kind of, and a timer to keep track of time. And so again, I'm from Florida, as most of you probably know. I've joked about it before. I was born 2 months early, and because I was premature, they really didn't think I was going to make it, and you know, but I survived. And I always like to joke that I was in a hurry then, and I haven't stopped since. You know, always on the go, always trying to do stuff. You know, so growing up, you know, my parents didn't really go to church much, but you know, they were always working and trying to make ends meet. But there was this lady down the street. You know, we were, you know, kids and just, you know, riding our bicycles around the neighborhood. We'd cut through her front yard on a kind of a corner lot. You know, we'd cut through her front yard, and she'd yell at us, and we'd say, "Oh, she's a mean old lady," yelling, "You kids, get off my lawn!" You know, and so we'd cut. And then one day she finally stopped. I think my brother first, and then eventually she got me too. But she stopped us and it's out in her front yard. And she stopped us as we were cutting through, and she talked to us, and maybe she scared us more than anything. But she eventually talked us into going to church. I guess at some point, you know, she talked to our parents, and they were okay with her and everything. So she took us to church. And so for me, it was January 1989. It was the first time I'd ever attended church ever. And then like about a year and a half later was when I actually did become baptized. It was a Baptist church, a little small, you know, 20, 30 people. You know, it was really great. Sunday school, you know, just regular services. We had Wednesday night services also, which was great, you know. And it was pretty cool, you know. It had a little bit of youth, but not a lot. So, you know, this was kind of nice to come to a church like this with a lot more youth, you know. You know, later as I got older, you know, a little bit of life story here is, you know, I got into like electronics. I found out that I was really like taking stuff apart and figuring out how it worked. And I was probably like 10, 12 years old. I took apart this radio and tried to figure out, you know, how to put it back together, you know, and I managed to get it to work. So when I got to high school, I was in electronics. Also, I was in band for 6 years, much like John started out. I did the clarinet. You know, I know he's changed a few times, but I stuck with that for 6 years. You know, it was kind of cool to have an extracurricular activity to hang out with people and do stuff. You know, all the while I was still going to church. You know, and didn't really have a lot of kids my age at the church though, so that kind of made it hard to hang out and do activities with them because they were either older or younger. So, and then you know, later I went to college in Tampa, Florida, and as most people probably wouldn't pass up after 2 years of school, college, I actually got a job working overseas in the Bahamas. You know, I know we've done some missionary trips there, but this was, you know, I know where they go is in the touristy area, but they're doing it in not the touristy area, on the island, you know, of Nassau and stuff. So, but where we were at was in a totally another island that has hardly any tourism. So we got to really see, you know, what it was like, you know, for like the locals to live. You know, we were on a small, you know, military installation, but off the base there was just, you know, the normal people. And you know, at some point I started going to a local church there, you know, just a really small congregation. Had a couple of Bohemians, a couple of Haitians, and a couple of us from the base would come out and take care of that and help out. And you know, also we did services on the base with the Navy chaplain and other ministers that came in from Florida. So you know, it was a really cool experience, you know, to have that. And you know, even though I'm not really a good singer, you know, I don't always keep in tune, like, you know, like maybe I could with my instrument. But when I was in the chapel there, my buddy, he really couldn't sing, but he just did it because he had no choice to help out with the worship. So for quite a few years there, I actually helped out with the worship, and you know, because I could read music and I could at least carry a tune of some sort, you know. So it was kind of, you know, my little part I could do to help out, you know, and you know, I was in front of everybody, you know, so it was kind of cool, you know. So about 2 years in the Bahamas, and then I transferred over with the same company over to Russia, and so there we were helping the U.S. government with the arms control treaties. We were, you know, they have missiles they couldn't produce, and ones they could, we kept track of them, and you know, we kind of just helped the government there. Unfortunately, for that time I was there really wasn't a lot of church services options, you know. Luckily, my church from Florida, they would send me cassette tapes, you know, eventually CDs. So I had that to go on. Plus, I just focused a lot on music. I just listened to a lot of Christian music all the time, so I could just try to relate that to verses, you know. Because later when I would hear a message, I would say, "Oh, I know a song that'll match up to that perfectly," because that, you know, song was from a verse probably initially. So that was my own little way of you know, keeping in the Word somehow, you know, in some way. But yeah, so we stayed out, and when I was in Russia, I had a lot of chance to travel and got to see the world, you know, and got to really see, you know, what else is out there besides our little world here in the U.S. And you know, I got to go to Bali, Indonesia. Got to go to Pisa, Italy. I got to go to Paris, France for a day. Hong Kong, China for 3 days. And you know, and also eventually I did go to the Philippines, and you know, went there 6 times total. I even lived there for like 4 months straight one time. And I've been all over the Philippines in different little places and stuff. And you know, it was just really a great experience to see how the rest of the world is, you know, versus our little part here. And then like they're talking about for the famine thing, you know, you don't really think about it in our little closed environment out here, how good we have it. So, you know, that was a big learning experience. I eventually, after a few years in Russia, I left, went back to Florida, kind of started over my life and kind of reset, you know, and then I went back to the Bahamas again for a little while. While I was there that second time in the Bahamas, you know, my family came to visit me, and you know, Randy came out there, was with them, and you know, it's kind of funny. He probably decided he liked it so much out there. He came back later and he worked there actually, but then when he came, I decided I was going to leave. You know, it wasn't just because of that, but you know, just worked out that way. But you know, then I actually had my job in Russia had called me back and said, you know, can you please come back? You know, that we didn't like some of the changes they had out there, but you know, when they had a contract change and stuff, and some of the details, but you know, they really needed me back, and it just worked out that okay, I'll go back, you know. So I went back to Russia. So I did a total of 3 years in the Bahamas and 7 years total in Russia. And so, you know, it was a long time, you know, be away from your family. And so, you know, after all that time, you know, obviously, you know, I'm leaving out some of the parts about, you know, where I met my, you know, fiance and then wife, and then, you know, later ex-wife, and you know, because it's just, you know, not a part I'm going to focus on a lot. It's, you know, a little bit. There's some good stuff that happened there, obviously, you know, and then bad stuff, of course, you know. And I don't, you know, like I said, I don't really regret any of that stuff because, you know, it got me to where I am today, you know. And it, you know, I came to California full time, you know, in 2008, and that was, you know, because she had her family here, and I came here to stay with her, you know, when I could, and then I transferred to that job here, and you know, when I started going to work in LA, that's where I met Mike Delote. I know he doesn't come here as regular as he used to, but it's because of him that I, you know, after about a year of knowing him at the office, I didn't realize it had been a whole year before I actually hung out with him outside of the office, you know, because I wasn't at the office all the time. I'm able to work from home, and so I'm not there every day. So, but when I eventually hung out with him outside of work a couple times, and he invited me to come to church, and so it was, where was it? Yeah, 2009 when I first came to New Life, and you know, I just, you know, been a really, really great experience. And actually, since I've been, you know, separated and divorced for about a year and a half now, I kind of tell people this church is what keeps me in California, because I honestly didn't have a particular reason to stay here after I'm no longer, you know, tied to someone here. So you know, all the things I went through got me to where I am, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'd like to thank you all for that.